Hey coders, welcome to another video in the series where we are building a PHP-based full-stack web application for real estate business. In our previous video, we completed the sort by logic. Now we are ready to work on the backend of this searching logic. Now since the searching bar is present at two different pages, to buy pages and to rent pages, that means we need two different routes in our index.html page because each of these routes will take the request to a separate controller. If we use the search bar on this to rent page, then the request should be handled by the rent controller. If we use the search bar on this page, then the request should be handled by the buy controller. So let's start by defining the routes for both of these pages. Let's open index.php page. Now this is our route for the rent controller. Let's copy paste it. Change the method from get to post because if you remember, the forms method is submitted through the post method. Then the URL, we are going to keep the URL same because we actually have the same URL, buy.html. So this is the part which is different. And this is same for both of the routes because the method, the HTTP method is different, so we are fine. Now this request is going to be sent to the rent controller. However, we have to change the method that is going to handle this request. So let's name it search. Likewise, copy paste this one. Now change the method from get to post. The route is buy and it's going to be handled by buy controller, and change the method from index to search. So let's go and define these search methods in the respective controllers. So let's start with the buy controller. And over here, let's define public function search. For the time being, just print or the global variable $_ post, because all the data in the form is going to be stored in this array, the global variable $_ post. Let's put in the exit so that the logic terminates here. Let's copy this and now open the rent controller. Paste it over here. Okay. Now let's refresh and click on, let's say, put in 2 bedrooms and click on the search. Now this is the array that we have got. It has 4 elements: location, bedrooms, minimum value and max value. So these are the names that we have given to the form. Okay, so this is our demo project. Let's go back to let's click over here. The input field in the form has been given the name location, and this one has been given the name bedrooms. This one has been given the name min_val, and this one has been given the name max_val. And these are the variables or the array indexes that we are receiving. Basically, we are receiving associative array. Each index of this array is a named index. Okay, so now if you notice, the location is empty because we didn't define anything for the location. For the bedrooms, the value is 2 because that is what we inserted into that input element. Likewise, minimum val is also empty and max val is also empty. Now the next thing that we have to do is we are going to define the logic, the database logic, which is going to handle the data and give us the appropriate fields to display in the browser. So for that, let's open up, let's close this index.php because we are not going to need it anymore. We have already defined the route. So let's open up database.php. And over here, since the logic is going to be almost similar as we have for this get featured logic, the get featured function, the only thing is, well, we will be making some changes. Let's not worry about it. Let's start by copying this function. Sorry, not get featured. Let's go down to this get properties. So the logic that we are going to define for the searching element is going to be based on this logic. The only part that will change is we will be adding a lot more and key value comparisons in this query. So this part will be expanded and this part will also be expanded. So what we are going to do is that we are going to start off by copy pasting this function. So copy, paste. Now change the name from get properties to get searched properties. Now as far as the parameters are concerned, the first thing that we are going to change is instead of passing this key value pair, now if you notice, we are passing this key parameter over here and this value is the value for this placeholder. But if you remember, this key is going to be the same in every case. So it's going to be listing type. Whether we are in the rent controller or in the buy controller, in both the cases, this part is going to be the same. So why pass it as a parameter? Rather, what we are going to do is that we are going to make this static. Listing type. The value, however, is going to come from the value over here. Now for the rest of the parameters, we need to pass in all of these parameters: location, bedroom, bedrooms, min and max. So let's place in location that you can see in the browser. So location, then we have bedrooms, then we have min value, and then we have max value. Now let's go back to the rent controller. Over here, we have to call this function. Let's comment this out for the time being. Okay, so now what we are going to do is that we know that in post we have all the 4 parameters, but those parameters are in the form of elements of an associative array. We have to convert them into separate variables, like not part of the array, but individual variables. So for that, what we are going to do is that first of all, let's copy this part, copy, paste it over here, and let's change the function name from get properties to get search properties. Okay, so first thing that we are going to do is that we are going to remove this listing type because we have already converted into a static column name. However, its value, which in this case is for sale because we are in the by controller, this is going to be passed to this value variable and eventually passed to this placeholder. Okay, but for the rest of these parameters, location, bedrooms, min and max, we are going to pass this array, copy, comma, paste. However, this is a single array or single variable, which is an array which contains all the 4 elements, but as its elements. So we have to convert them into individual variable names. So for that, we are going to use the spread operator, which is 3 dots. So this is going to convert the indexes into individual variable names. Now, the positioning is very important over here because so this one, so if you notice, the first element is location, the second is bedrooms, third is min value, and fourth is max value. So that means this location will be converted into the first individual variable name. Therefore, we have to make sure that in the database, this is the first variable name as well. Then the second array element will get converted into an individual variable name. So we have to make sure that the position of this one is going to be the second. Over here, second. We are not considering this one because for the array, this doesn't exist. So it will start pressing the first element, location over here, bedrooms over here. So we have to make sure that the parameter name that is going to contain bedrooms is going to be the second with respect to 4 of these elements. Likewise, the third one is min value. So we have to make sure the third one over here is min value as well. Min value, and then there is max value. So that's the only care that we have to take into consideration when we are converting array elements into individual variable names. Okay, then what we are going to do is that let's move this up, paste, and instead of printing the post data, let's print whatever we receive after executing this function, get search properties. Okay, so currently this should work fine. I mean, this statement should work exactly like this original get properties method. So what will happen basically will be that this part are the variables or the parameters will get ignored over here. So these will get ignored because currently our query is not taking into account these variables. However, we will still be able to see that at least the logic so far is working, which is we are still able to receive all the properties which are available in the market for sale. So refresh, let's go back to the browser. Now we are on the buy one, okay. Let's click bedrooms. This will be ignored. Search. Call to undefined methods. Get search properties. SEARCH. Okay, this is searched ed. Save it. Turn it into search. Let's refresh. Continue. Okay, so we have got all the properties which are available in the market to be sold. Now we can modify the query such that we are only return the properties according to the search parameters that we enter into one of the or all of the boxes in the search bar. So for that, what we are going to do is that we are going through these parameters and check them if they are empty or not. If they are empty, ignore them. Otherwise, keep attaching the part like this to our query for the parameter which is not empty. So what we are going to do is that we are going to start off with location. So if not empty, $location. Now over here we can apply as many filters as possible. For example, one filter that we can apply is we can trim it as well, because sometimes we write the string. Like let's say if we write city London, but then we press but then we also put in the space. So we can trim those spaces as well. And if we like, we can take into account all the possible combinations of London. For example, this one start with capital L, or we can write whole London in capital. So if we want our query to be able to take into consideration all of these variations, we can convert everything into case sensitive before comparison as well. But I'm ignoring them. You can apply as many filters as you like. Anyways, so if that is the case, if after trimming the location it's still not empty, that means we have something in this variable. So we have to attach to this query. So what we are going to do is that we are going to say query and then dot equal to sign, because we want to keep whatever currently we have over here and then append something over here. So we want to append something over here. So if you notice, after the quotation there is no space, so we have to start with some space, because otherwise whatever we append over here is going to be directly appended with this value. We want some space, so therefore space and then end, and then we want to place p dot. Now we can't say p dot location because we don't have this column. We have 3 columns: city, postcode and address, and we want to be able to search them based on whatever has been placed over here, based on the city or the postcode or any part of the address. We still want to be able to search the property if any of those values have been entered. So instead of saying p dot location, what we are going to do is that we are going to put a parenthesis. So we are going to say p dot city, because we could be searching as per the city. So if the value that is placed in the location matches the city, then we have found the comparison. Or if it matches the postcode, then we have again found the property. Or if it matches part of the address, then again we have successfully found that particular property. So p dot city, like, because we want to say if out of the whole column value, if part of that matches with whatever is in this location, bring it on. So that's why like, and then we have to bring in the placeholder. So colon location. So basically we are just placing in the placeholder. And now we have to account for the postcode as well as the address. So or paste in p.city like location. We are going to change the city to postcode, but first place in another for the address. Okay, so now we have 3 parts, all separated by the logical or, and they are all placed in the parentheses. So if one of them is true, we are good to go. So now changing the second p.city to postcode, then the third one from p.city to address. Okay, so this is the part that we will place in if the location is not empty, and this will basically compare cities, postcodes and addresses. If we find the match anywhere, it will be inserted into the query. Now let's move on to the bedrooms. So if not empty, bedrooms, let's copy this part, paste it over here, closing quotation marks, and p.bedrooms equals, let's put in the placeholder. So bedrooms, semicolon. Now for these two values, we always have to use them together. First, we will check if these are empty or not. If they are empty, assign them some default value. Otherwise, use whatever value has been used. And they will be used together, and we have to make sure that the values that has been entered into these 2 columns have to be such that whatever has been placed into the min value is always less than the max value. So otherwise, we can't be looking for a property whose min value is greater than max value. So for that, what we are going to do is that first of all, we are going to check if they are empty. In that case, give them default value. Otherwise, use whatever value is their current value. So let's start with min val equals, first of all, check. We are using ternary operator. Min val, if this is empty, in that case, give some default value. Let's give it 10. So minimum value is going to be $10 or £10, 10 rupees or whatever is the currency of the choice. Otherwise, what we are going to do is that we are going to use whatever is the current value. Just convert this into float value. So float. Copy paste it for the max value. So if the max value is empty, in that case, give it default value. So PHP int max. Otherwise, whatever is the value, just convert into float value. Okay, so for the query, when it comes to query, now if you notice, we have 2 things. If we have called this function from the rent controller, then we want to compare the rents of the properties. If, however, this function has been called from the by controller, then we would like to be comparing the minimum and maximum prices. So we have to use if statement. If, what we are going to do is that in order to know from where this function has been called, we can get the clue over here from this value parameter. So the value of this parameter is going to be either rental or for sale. So we are going to check if value equals rental, Then copy this part, paste it over here, closing quotation, and p.rent equals, sorry, not equals, between min value and max value. Else copy paste p.price between min value and max value. Okay, so the query is complete. Now we have to prepare this statement, and then we have to provide the values for these placeholders. So first let's prepare the statement. So this part is already done over here. So statement is being prepared. Now since earlier we only had one placeholder in the prepared statement, so we directly provided this as an array, we can still follow the same approach and place in comma and then keep providing the values for the rest of these placeholders. But this time I'm going to change the approach because we have to check if they are empty or not. So what I'm going to do is that, so if not empty, after trimming location, we are going to use the $&. Now this approach is called short-circuiting conditional. So if this part is true, then the following will be executed, otherwise it will not be executed. And the following in our case is going to be, we are going to provide the value bind param or bind value. So statement, let's use bind value. So we are going to start with the first empty space. Let's start with this value. So name of the placeholder, value, and then its value is going to be $value. Copy paste it multiple times. Then for the second one, so for the first one, we will need it anyway because value is present no matter what. For the second one, if the location is not empty, in that case, now the placeholder, location, and the value is coming from the variable location. For the third one, if bedrooms is not empty, we don't need trim. We haven't used it at the top, so let's remove it from here as well. Bedrooms, because that's the name we have given to the placeholder. Yeah, bedrooms. And the value is coming from the bedrooms variable. Then the third one is going to be, we don't need to check over here either because we are going to use the min values and max values in any case. So min val, and the value is coming from min val variable. Let's delete this. Max val, and the value is also coming from the max val variable. Okay, so I think we have provided all the placeholder values. For the value, it's coming from the value variable. For the location, if it's not empty, then it's coming from the location variable. For the bedrooms, again, if it's not empty, then it's coming from the bedrooms variable. For the min and max, we are providing these any case, so no comparison over here. So min values and max values. The rest is going to be same. We are executing it. We are not executing it because we were executing over here, which we deleted. So let's bring it down. Okay, and let's delete everything from the parenthesis, uncommented. So statement is executed. Then if it contains data, return the data, otherwise return an empty array. Fingers crossed. Okay, let's go to the by controller. Okay, we are printing data and exiting over here. Okay, let's refresh. Now let's search London. We got an error which is location undefined variable A is missing on line 74. Database line 74. London, search. Okay, we've got one property ID, I think. Let's search for London. Yes, we have one London, city London. Good, okay. Let's go back. Now let's search as per, let's refresh it. Let's search as per the number of bedrooms. Let's put in 3. Bedrooms value 3, bedrooms value 3, bedrooms value 3. So they are all 3. So that means the search logic is working properly. Now because we are on the to buy page, so we should not have anything for the rent. So rent is empty, rent is empty, rent is empty. Okay. Price, we have the price. Okay, so that means the logic is working just fine. Now let's go back again to the buy and uncomment them. Now we need to send this data back to the buy page. So copy this part and paste it over here. So we are sending the data back to the buy page because buy page is going to display everything. Let's refresh. Okay, so now let's put in 1 bedroom and search. Now we got just 2 properties with 1 bedroom. Let's search for 3 bedrooms. So they are all 3 bedrooms. Now let's search for London. We got 1 property. Let's search for Leeds. And we got 1 property. Okay, so now we have to do the same for the rent one as well. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to copy this part. In fact, let's delete this. Save and copy this part. Let's go to the rent controller and paste it over here. Okay, now we don't need to make any changes over here for the get search properties method because we have already taken into consideration the changes. So let's go to the to rent page. Now let's search for bedroom, 1 bedroom properties, and okay, it's returning us to buy. So we have to look where are we making the mistake. So if value equals rental, okay, yeah, rent controller, we have to change over here from for sale to rental. Okay, because we have to change it over here to rent as well. Okay. Now let's look for 1 bedroom properties. Okay, let's put in Birmingham. Okay, so now if I put anything with starting with spaces and then London, it should still work because I'm trimming the location. But it's not. That's because I just figured out that over here I'm not trimming it. So let's enclose it within the curly parentheses and then trim function. Let's see if it's working. Let's refresh first. Some spaces and then London. Still not working. London is not coming up anyway. Okay, let's look for Leeds. Okay, we have this one. Now let's start with these spaces. Maybe we don't have London property in the rental part. Leads. Okay, so now it's working. Good. Now to test out the other aspects, let's go and look for the. Do we have postcodes? Okay, we have postcode. So we have B1 to C. So now let's assume for the time being, we don't remember this whole code. We just remember this B1. And we want to look for the properties whose postcode contains this B1. So B1 is over here, then B1 is over here as well. So, and the B1 is over here as well. So basically the logic that now we want to work on is, if we don't remember the whole postcode, just B1, we should be able to provide it all the properties which has B1 in the postcode, but it's not working at the moment. So what we can do is that we have already used the like keyword over here. So now we can use the wildcard characters over here. So where we are binding the values over there, what we can do is we can attach 2 wildcard characters. So because we are concatenating, and wildcard character is %sign over here at the beginning, then concatenate with another wildcard character %sign. That means no matter what there is before or after this string, as long as the part of this string matches this location, return that string to us. Let's refresh and let's now search for B1. And we got all of these 3 properties. One is Birmingham, Cambridge, and 2 in Cambridge. So this one was in Birmingham. Then we had this B1. Okay, we had this Aberdeen as well. B1Y. Okay, this must be available for the properties for the available in the market to be sold. So this B1, let's look for all the B1. So we have 4 B1s. This is the first one. We got this one. Then the second one, this must be for selling. So that's why we didn't get it. Yeah, available. This is for sale. Okay, then we have this B1. This is rental. And we have this B1, which is rental as well. So this is also working now for the addresses. So I'm sure it works for the addresses as well. We don't have to now worry about it. So this logic is complete. Of course, there is room for refinement, but I leave it to you. Now I think we are done with the searching part as well, and it's working for both to buy and to rent. The other thing before we end this video is, remember in the previous video, we worked on the sorting logic for the rental properties. We don't have to do anything for the to buy page. However, on the to buy page, we have to just include this window.data, and we have to attach the data that we are receiving from the twig. So we only have to include this part, then the sorting logic for the to buy page will also work without any changes. So I don't remember if I did this in the previous video. So that's why I wanted to just mention it over here. Okay, so with this tiny bit of refactoring homework, we are ending this video. I hope you liked it and you learned a lot. If you did, please do not forget to comment, like, subscribe, and share. Thank you so much. Happy coding.